And after a period of relative quiet from the president, Donald Trump is lashing out at Amazon again, criticizing the company's business practices and tax payments, tweeting, quote, "While we're on the subject, it is reported that the U.S. Post Office will lose $1.50 on average for each package it delivers for Amazon. That amounts to billions of dollars." The failing New York Times reports that the size of the company's lobbying staff has ballooned, and that does not include the fake Washington Post, which is used as a lobbyist and should so register. If the PO, Post Office, increased its parcel rates, Amazon shipping costs would rise by $2.6 billion. The Post Office scam must stop. Amazon must pay real costs and taxes now. CNN White House correspondent Abby Phillip traveling with the president. She is in Palm Beach this morning. Abby, there's a lot the president could be focusing on today, but instead he is choosing Amazon and by extension, the Washington Post.
That's right. Good morning, Ryan. The president is here playing golf and also tweeting about Amazon on this subject for really the second time this week. He has been tweeting about this quite a bit for several months. It's an issue that is always seemingly top of mind for him, but it kind of came to a head this week when some reporting about the president's private conversations on this subject sent Amazon stock tumbling. Now, President Trump is here in this tweet going after Amazon on some factually questionable bases. For example, the Washington Post is not a part of Amazon, the company. In fact, it's owned by Amazon's CEO, Jeff Bezos, who used his private funds to own that newspaper. And the president seems to be making a connection here between the newspaper, which often publishes unflattering stories about him and his administration, and the company Amazon, which he now accuses of defrauding the U.S. Postal Service and also defrauding American taxpayers. On those two fronts, the president's accusations that the Postal Service is not getting its money's worth out of Amazon is disputed by the Post Office, which says the arrangement with Amazon is for the most part mutually beneficial. It has an arrangement with Amazon like it does with other bulk shippers to charge them less for shipping packages, but that's a pretty standard thing, and Amazon is a huge chunk of the U.S. Postal Service's business. Also on the taxes, Amazon does pay sales tax to state and local governments on most of its sales. It does not pay sales tax on third-party vendors who use Amazon as a platform for its own sales. So some factually questionable things in the president's tweets here this morning, but clearly what underlies it is this attack on the Washington Post, a media outlet that he doesn't like a lot of their reporting and is using it to attack Amazon, a private corporation here.
Yeah, and Abby, he's not just talking about Amazon, the president also taking shots at California's governor today. What did he say about that?
That's right. Well, the president appeared to be this morning, as he often is, watching television, watching Fox News, which did a segment about Jerry Brown, the California governor, who he has been fighting with over and over again the last several months over this issue of sanctuary cities. Jerry Brown, in this last week, pardoned 5 illegal immigrants who were in this country illegally who had been convicted of crimes. And now Brown chose these individuals, according to his office, because they had turned their lives around after being convicted many years ago of these crimes. But the president in his tweet highlighted the crimes that the immigrants were convicted of: kidnapping and robbery, badly beating his wife and threatening a crime with intent to terrorize, dealing drugs. And then the president asks, is this really what the great people of California want? So here the president escalating his attack on Jerry Brown, who has really resisted the president's push to crack down on sanctuary cities and deport illegal immigrants. This is a fight the president wants. He even made his weekly address about, in part, this issue of sanctuary cities, Ryan.
Okay, Abby Phillip talking about the president's tweets, which came in rapid succession right before his trip to the golf course. Abby, thank you for that. All right, let's discuss this now with my panel. With me, David Swerdlick, a CNN political commentator and the assistant editor at the Washington Post, and Margaret Talev, a CNN political analyst and a senior White House correspondent for Bloomberg News. David, let's start with you. You work at the Washington Post, part of the president's attacks this morning, and he's attacking Amazon and then by extension the Washington Post. From your perspective, what do you think this is all about?
Okay, so it's important to point out, as Abby did, that the Washington Post is owned by Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, but the Washington Post is not a subsidiary of Amazon. It is a separate entity. Our news coverage is governed by the leadership of the Washington Post, not Amazon. In terms of what the president tweeted this morning, Ryan, I would just simply say this. If the president is saying that any of the tax treatment of Amazon or any company is something that he wants to review, that is obviously fair game. But I'm unaware that he is alleging at all that Amazon does not pay its proper legally required taxes. I'm also unaware that it does not have a legally, in place agreement with the U.S. Postal Service for a bulk rate. So some of this criticism, you have to look at it and wonder if the president's criticism is related to his opinion of Washington Post coverage rather than his view of the tax issues involved. I will just add one more thing, and that's that some people have described what the president describes here as unfair treatment. Other people simply call it commerce. Amazon is a business, and they're in the business of doing business. And so the president, I think, needs to lay out some of his criticisms in a little more detail there.
So, Margaret, I mean, there are a lot of things the president could be talking about this morning, and usually his Twitter feed is our only real glimpse into his thinking. But could this be a way of him changing the subject from Stormy Daniels, the Russia probe, and the current chaos and turmoil at his White House?
He certainly would like to change the subject away from those issues. I think the one area that many people are curious to know more about, because of another recent tweet, is what he plans to do on Syria, what he is actually planning to do. This issue over Amazon is, on the one hand, a very sort of long-standing stalking horse of his from before his election, and then on the other hand, it's hard to understand where he's actually going with it. What does he actually want to do, and what would be the reaction and fallout among congressional Republicans, among other people? So, yeah.